Right now, a Muslim woman here in New York who said she was attacked on the subway by men yelling Donald Trump and calling her a terrorist is accused of making the whole thing up. Police investigated the incident as an anti-Muslim hate crime, but have now charged the 18-year-old student with filing a false police report. Let's bring in our legal panel. Bonnie Williams, attorney and Fox News contributor, and Monique Presley, criminal defense attorney. Monique, first to you on this. Local reports here in New York indicate that Yasmin Saweed, this young woman, did it because she was out late drinking with friends and didn't want to tell her parents, who run a pretty strict household. Wow.
Yes, wow. But it looks like from some further digging as the facts come forward that this woman may have been being intimidated in her own home. It appears that her parents were very strict and shaved her head even because of whatever behavior she conducted when she was out with friends or involved with a male. And that also is serious. So if there's any form of domestic violence or abuse or intimidation going on in the home, she's barely 18 years old, then that may be able to be used as extenuating circumstances for what was obviously a lapse in judgment with this false report.
Anthony, though, like way beyond a lapse in judgment. First of all, this is criminal. Second of all, it brings up all sorts of questions in terms of what do we believe when people say they've been a victim of a hate crime, whether they're Muslim, whether they're black, whether they're Jewish. This has implications all across America.
Certainly. Of course, right now we know it's just an allegation, but if indeed we go under the premise that it's true, and in fact this was a false report, of course that kind of undermines to some of your suggestions, you know, real victims. But I want to encourage people to understand that much just like false claims around rape, while that is unfortunate, it should be prosecuted because it's a gross waste of resources from law enforcement while they could be pursuing other crimes
we know the police in New York went to Grand Central Station. They got surveillance video. There were a lot of man-hours spent trying to find these 4 alleged people who yelled Donald Trump at her.
That's right, and that's why, indeed, if it's true, it should be prosecuted, and I agree with that. But again, you know, we do know that that does not mean that real anti-Muslim crimes don't exist, right? Attorney General Loretta Lynch came out and said there's been a 67% rise just in the past year around that. So I just want to, again, you know, make sure that people are aware that in this instance, indeed, this might have been a case of a false report. It should be prosecuted. It's not okay. But let's not connect those dots too broadly and say that thus all anti-Muslim hate crimes are made up.
I don't think anybody's doing that, but it certainly gives fodder to people who say that all of a sudden something could be a potentially false report. Monique, interestingly enough, touching on what you said about the family that she comes from, we don't have this video, but when she was led into court yesterday, she had a shaved head and she was not wearing an abaya, the scarf typically Muslim women wear, and her parents shaved her head, they said, out of shame. It seems as though that raises a lot of other questions as well.
Yes, and this is an American citizen, and that's why that's very important to me. She's barely an adult, 18 years old. She was stripped of her hijab. Her head was shaved. So this, to me, is a woman who was crying out in some way, shape, or form for help. She committed a crime doing so, and Ebony's right, that just terribly wastes resources. But there may be something else going on here, and in the United States, we protect our citizens, and they all have rights. So she needs counsel to represent her.
Well, certainly there'll be a lot of lawyers involved on this one, from the police, the prosecutor, and also hopefully she gets some help as well. Monique, Ebony, appreciate you guys being here. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right.